Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Roti. I'm joined alongside my co-host, London Beth, and today we are hitting on our first mock draft for the Chicago Bears with no draft trades. Bears have a lot of draft picks this year. In fact, they have 4 6-round picks, which doesn't sound great, but Ryan Pace is known to be a guru of taking guys in the later rounds from no-name schools, but London and I are ready to bring it to you. So with that, London, you ready for our first mock draft?
I'm very excited. This is, I know I was talking to you last night, Nick. Prospecting players and talent is one of my hobbies. You know, a lot of people do like, woodwork and stuff. I like prospecting players. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just get into it. Bears have the first, they do have a first round pick this year. It's been 2 years since the Bears have had a first round pick, and it is pick number 20. Since they were the lowest seeded playoff team, they do get a decently mid-round pick. So there's pros and cons to how the Bears finished off last season, but they do have pick number 20 this year. London, who are you taking in the first round?
So I'm taking Kadarius Toney. He's a 5'11", 190-pound receiver from Florida. 2 reasons why I'm taking him with my first round pick, just because I think it's the most important. First off, we need more weapons on offense. We're probably going to lose Anthony Miller, Javon Wims, some other guys, a little more depth receivers. Allen Robinson's coming back. Pairing him with 2 speedy receivers like Darnell Mooney and Kadarius, I think will be really, really dynamic. You can do a lot of different things in the Matt Nagy offense of moving Toney around, having Darnell Mooney be more of that pure receiver like he should be. And also, I have a bet with 2 of my friends, Drew and Gavin. If Kadarius Toney gets picked in the first round, they both owe me $20. So not just for the money. I think he's a great pick. I think they're going to get him, but also winning $40 would be good too.
Great. I mean, I agree that later in my draft, I definitely have wide receivers because this is a wide receiver loaded draft, just like last year's.
Very loaded.
So I think that you're on the right track, especially. And just a disclaimer, London and I are very offensive heavy in the beginning, at least for our draft picks, but overall it is balanced. So great first round pick by London. My first round pick is going to be Christian Darrisaw. If he is available, he's a left tackle out of West Virginia. That is something that the Bears need. We have a big need for offensive tackle. As we know, the line has been upgrading, but I think that he would put us over the top to be a good offensive line. Great college offensive lineman. He's big. He's fast. Danny Dalton needs all the protection that he needs, especially being an older, not very mobile quarterback. And also Bobby Massey leaving or being cut is a big gap now in that tackle position. So that is my first round pick. So London's going with a wide receiver. I'm going to left tackle. Let's go to round number 2. The Bears have the 52nd overall pick in the second round. London, who are you taking? Are we going offense or defense?
Listen, I'm going offense again here. I know you're going defense here. And the reason why I'm going offense is because this pick makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go with Liam Enrichberg out of Notre Dame. I know I texted you and said, hey, you're going to love this pick. He's a 6'6", 300 300 plus pound offensive tackle. And honestly, I think the Bears are starting to see right now take offensive linemen from Notre Dame.
That's
doesn't
right.
Doesn't matter if they're a big Q who's an absolute dominant guard for the Indianapolis Colts, or it's all the way to Sam Mustipher, who we have. Anywhere in between. If you take right now pretty much Wisconsin or Notre Dame, and honestly Notre Dame lately has been a lot more talented up and down. Take anybody off their line, doesn't matter. You are going to get an absolute dominant lineman. So that's my second round pick.
Yeah, I think honestly, this is a very low key, but this is a very lineman heavy draft as well. Yeah. And I think that people don't realize that because a lot of the talk is, Trevor Lawrence, a lot of the talk is Zach Wilson, a couple different wide receivers and running backs from the SEC. I think that it is a big miss that, this is a very heavy tackle draft. And, Notre Dame, like you said, Sam Mustipher, Quentin Nelson, Alex Bars, 2 of those are on our team. Both had pretty decent seasons. Sam Mustipher had a great season. Alex Bars is a great depth guy. So, you can't go wrong with Notre Dame linemen. I totally agree with that pick if I hadn't already picked a tackle. But in the second round, I'm going with a defensive guy. I'm going with a handsaw, and we talked about this before, Nasser Ilden. He's a safety out of Florida State, and he is a big kid. 6'4", 220 as a safety. I mean, That is Richard Sherman status. That's a guy that can cover DK Metcalf. And also he's fast. And a lot of Bears fans don't realize this, but we still don't have we're missing a safety. We have not re-signed Gibson Sr. So if we don't re-sign him, I say that the Bears go in the second round and go get this safety out of Florida State. A lot of people don't need safety help right now. And that's why, if you go look at CBS's, draft prospect ranking, safety is not a big need for a lot of teams, but for the Bears to have that dominant defense, be able to take on wide receivers like Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson. Now Kenny Galladay is gone, but this overall, we do have a tough schedule and every team seems to be getting bigger and bigger receivers. Well, who do you need to guard that? Bigger and bigger DBs. So that's my second round pick. And also he's a big hitter. That's what I like.
Yeah, Nick, let me hit on that really quick with Hamsah. He's dominant. I mean, he came out of high school in North Carolina, and I actually read he played 4 positions on his high school team, like wide receiver, tight end, safety, corner, a little
athlete.
He was really highly recruited out of high school. He got to play next to Derwin James his freshman year, so he was a true freshman starting on that Florida State team. And if it wasn't for injuries in 2019, I think he would easily be the number 1 safety on the draft board to a very light safety, just big board in general in this draft. And also, I really like that pick, and the reason why is because as of today, the places that Bear Scouts have gone to is San Diego State, Florida State, TCU, Stanford, Clemson, North Dakota State, of course, the notorious meeting with Seattle, Illinois, Northwestern, Arkansas State, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Maryland, SMU, Hawaii, Washington, Gambler State, Kansas State. So they went to Florida State. They definitely watched him. They definitely watched him.
And also you got to consider that the Bears' new defensive coordinator, he's just like Vic Fangio. And what did Vic Fangio do very well? He used Prince Amukamara very well. He used Eddie Jackson very well, Amos very well. So, if you bring in a safety that they like, and you're saying that they were at Florida State Pro Day, I think that he's a good pick. But so that's our second round picks. We flipped the script. I'm going defense in the second round. London is sticking in the offensive side of the ball. So I think that any of these picks for the Bears so far is going to help be a big improvement to this team, especially in areas of need. So we're going into the third round now, pick number 83. Now this round, I have a take. London also has a take. So London, I'm going to let you take it. Who are you taking in the third round?
So my third round pick is not going to be a huge surprise. It's going to kind of honestly mirror your second round. I'm going to go safety here. I think that we go with the Syracuse safety, Andre Cisco. He's 6'1", 200-pound safety. He's been a 3-year starter there. Very, very good. I would say probably behind the TCU safety. It's kind of a toss-up once you get past him as the number 1 safety. I'm thinking he slips a little bit just because in his pro day, he'll probably run closer to a 4.5, a 4.6. But putting him at strong safety, you don't need him to be blazing fast with Eddie Jackson back there. I think he's going to be slept on a little bit. I'm very excited here that we'll grab a safety. I think it's a big need. I don't think we sign Gibson back. But your pick, Nick, is going to be something that I know my friends at the Trenchcoat Mafia talked a lot about. We were a big fan of this guy. And honestly, you're going to make a lot of people at 670 The Score sad when you say this, because they said Andy Dalton, and then this would be the destruction of the Bears. So I'm excited.
And listen, I got to agree with this. So my pick is Kellen Mund's quarterback out of Texas A&M. I think it's a great late round pick. A lot of people, he's very slept on, and a lot of people are saying that. And I know that that's good. Like, people are saying this is going to be the destruction of the quarterback room for the Bears. How? I just got to ask how. He's a rookie. He needs to earn his playing time. Andy Dalton's only here for a year. You sign a rookie in Kellen Mund to learn. Hopefully, if it works out with this offense, if Bill Lazor stays around, he learns this offense. This kid's got a cannon of an arm. He's super athletic. He's fast. I believe he broke a few different college records. I can't name them off the top of my head, but this is an area of need. And right now, Nick Foles is on the trading block. Thank God. Nick Foles, great guy. And that's the thing is that the Bears get these great guys, Mitchell Trubisky, Andy Dalton, Nick Foles. You hate him on the field. You love him off the field. I wish the best for Nick Foles, but it just did not work out here in Chicago. Who else do we have? We're not going to have Bray, as our second string quarterback. We're not going to, it just wouldn't make sense. Go out, get Kellen Mons. I think it's a good pick. Could be slept on. I mean, watch his game footage. He's an athlete. So, I went quarterback in the third round. London went safety. So far I have a left tackle out of Virginia Tech. London corrected me. Virginia Tech. Excuse my mistake earlier. I said West Virginia. I have safety out of Florida State, and then I have quarterback out of Texas A&M. So London, you're sitting at wide receiver, tackle, and then now you're sitting at at a safety.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bears do not have a 4th round pick this year, but they are stacked in later rounds. We're going to have a different podcast later on about the Bears trading up, getting different picks. But right now we're going into the 5th round, pick 164, close to Tom Brady's number, I believe, kind of getting up there.
Very close.
Very close. Speaking of that, London, who is your late round gem that Ryan Pace is known for getting in the 4th and 5th round pick?
Yeah, Nick, we talked about this off air before we started. And Ryan Pace, again, no matter what anybody says about him, no matter if you love him, you hate him, you think he's a good GM or not, late round picks, pretty much 4th through 7th. He easily, I would say, other than him and maybe Belichick, the most absolute money GMs at picking just star talent, not good players, not just starters. I'm talking Eddie Jackson. I'm talking absolute studs.
Tarik Cohen, these good
just
guys.
Studs, players that start on your team, make good contracts. I mean, the list goes on and on of what he's been doing. And honestly, I looked back at his draft picks at the New Orleans Saints when he was trying to rebuild. He did really well there too. He's just a late round guy. He finds those gems. He builds his scouting room. So the player that I'm going to go with in the 5th round is going to be Jonathan Adams. He's a 6'3", 200-pound wide receiver out of Arkansas State. Not a lot of people are going to know about Jonathan Adams. Honestly, not a lot of people probably even saw Jonathan Adams. I only watched one game, and it was a bowl game, and he completely dominated. Took over the game. I'm pretty sure won Arkansas State their bowl win. If they didn't, it's because I only watched till like halftime because it's Arkansas State. Sure. But he's an absolute X factor. He is ranked somewhere in like the wide receivers, I would say low to middle. At 164, though, he's going to be a steal. I think he's ranked like to go around like 150-ish. So in like the earlier 5th, late 4th. So if we get him here, he'll be a steal. He was an X factor on Arkansas State. And again, it's just what Ryan Pace loves to do. He finds those small school dudes, who can't route run the best or can't do whatever or injury prone, chucks them in there like Darnell Mooney and steals them away from the, Minnesota Vikings, and just boom, they're all stars.
Listen, I get it. I think I like that you're going wide receiver, and I'm going wide receiver in this round too, but that's what the Bears need. Like everyone was saying, bring as many quarterbacks in for the Bears, bring as many kickers in for the Bears. Let's have a competition. You can never have too many wide receivers because you can throw wide receivers on special teams. You can throw a wide receiver in a kick return, punt return. We might not have that again either. So let's go out and get these big, fast guys. Yeah. And also, I totally agree with going into my pick. I'm going Seth Williams out of Auburn, another X factor guy. A lot of guys that people don't talk about. But when Russell Wilson is saying that he's interested in a guy in college, you should definitely keep your eyes open. Similar to DK Metcalf, 6'3", 211. Am I saying he's as ripped? Absolutely not. But he's a college athlete. He can go up. Yeah. He's known for getting 50-50 balls. He's, another late round stud. And the Bears, now we have Allen Robinson back. Great. 6'2.5", 6'3" cleats on. Big guy. But then you have Darnell Mooney, who is, 5'11". You have Tarik Cohen, who's 5'6". You're getting rid of Wims, who is 6'2", 6'3". And then you're most likely getting rid of Anthony Miller, who is 5'11", 6 foot on a good day. The Bears need big targets for a guy like Andy Dalton because these experienced quarterbacks and how the NFL is working these days is that you toss something up and you have a bigger guy. Whoever's bigger is going to go and get it. These guys have crazy verticals on both sides of the ball. It's just who's going to have that little bit bigger of a hand, who's going to have have more wingspan. because these guys are all jumping 40 plus inches at this point. I mean, they're just freak athletes. So that's my first big wide receiver I'm going with. I really like him. Auburn, another great school. So I think he's also slept on in the draft. And when Russell Wilson is wanting him, that kind of says something to me.
Yeah, he's also, like you said, he's a great red zone target. A lot of people after the pro day with Anthony Schwartz, his wide receiver, who kind of played slot for them and kind of just whatever. He was a track star, ran like a sub 4.3, just absolutely blazed. We all expected him to be the fast guy. So he's going to get more the attention than Seth Williams, even though Seth Williams is the more complete wide receiver out of Auburn, just in general. So yeah, getting him in the 5th round, that's a really, really good pick.
I agree. I like this draft because obviously we made it, but if Ryan Pace can get even half of these guys, I'd sleep well at night.
I would too.
So moving into the first of 4 6th-round picks for the Chicago Bears. This is Ryan Pace is licking his chops right now, like,
Oh yeah.
And 2 of them are free from the NFL. And London and I said this before, but if you're going to give free picks, you might as well at least put them in the 4th. I would rather have 1 4th than 2 6. But draft capital, Bears are likely to do that. We'll talk about that later. But this is a world that the Bears do absolutely nothing and keep all their picks. So London, we both went wide receiver last round. What are we going with this round?
So I'm going to go secondary on this one. I think corners in this draft are kind of like wide receivers. They're pretty deep. Once you get past like I would say Caleb Farley, Patrick Surtain, I would say Horn out of Virginia. Once you get like those top 3 guys, the guy out of Northwestern really jumped. Newsome, the second, he really hopped up after his pro day. And I think a lot of corners, out of Georgia, all these other places, it's just a really deep corner draft. Asante Samuel Jr. out of Florida State, we went and probably watched him. I'm going to be going with, and I'm going to butcher his name, and I know I'm just bad with this, Olaijah. So Olaijah Griffin. He's 6 foot, 175 pound corner out of USC. Listen, he was a 5-star recruit, okay, who had some injury problems. 5-star recruit coming out of high school, had some injury problems. Came back, played really, really well. The last half, kind of like Hanso out of Florida State, just kind of, hit that injury bug, kind of fell apart, dropped really heavily in draft boards and just off the field in general. But very, very solid player. Another guy who, Ryan Pace loves to do these late round dump of just corners. We lost Buster Screen, who was kind of like 5'10", 5'11". I think Griffin would work really, really well in the nickel. Honestly, he at 6 foot, if I don't think Desmond Trufant is the future of our, I think he's kind of like a Prince of Mukamara kind of, pickup. So he could start in the slot, move his way out to the outside if needed. But he's just really versatile, bigger guy, good at tackling, stuck his nose in the ball on run plays and stuff. Wasn't the best cover guy, but I think would be very well taking over that kind of Buster Screen, and also way more athletic than Buster.
Sure, and I don't think Buster Screen is a loss, by the way. I think
no,
blessing in disguise that we got rid of him. I mean, unfortunately, injuries took over a guy's career. You never wish injuries on anyone, but he wasn't the player that he was in New York. So I totally agree with your pick. He could move around. The Bears have a lot of corners. A lot of corners from last year. We're taking a lot. We're predicting we take a lot more this year. But again, another position that you can just have. You can't have too many of them. No. Guys get hurt. Put them on special teams. Call it a day. With my first 6th-round pick number 204, I'm going with Baron Browning, linebacker out of Ohio State. Big guy, fast, on a great Ohio State defense. Can't be a late round stud that's the late round stud on defense that Ryan Pace hits on. Could be the Eddie Jackson, could be, the Nichols, we really haven't seen Gibson yet out of last year. He barely played because of the injury bug, but Danny Trevathan is not going to be in the league forever. You can see that he's slowly slowing down as time has gone on. I think that we need to go out and get that help. And then, Nick Kowalski, who went to the Raiders, I think that was a big hurt. He was a great depth guy, but we need to start putting that back in the linebacker room. And the Bears really haven't done that so far this offseason. So it's something to definitely look out for. I think Baron Browning is a very good late round pick, decent linebacker in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely phenomenal linebacker in college.
Yeah.
But he will be haunted, and I think he will slip to the 6th round because he'll be haunted because in that national championship game, in that first half, Devontae Smith gave him the work. Gave him the work for like I would say a 50, 60-yard touchdown. So that's the only last thing I saw of Browning because he was a really good linebacker. And I think he was projected, honestly, closer to like the 4th round. Just, Devontae Smith, probably, arguably him or Chase, the best wide receivers in this draft, was a Heisman, just cooked him. Just gave him the, oh man.
Yeah. And, that's a chip on the shoulder that a guy might need, especially to prove himself.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is, it definitely will put that kind of like, need to go out there and kick some butt.
So like how the NFL draft works, usually the 6th round, like things just kind of like go quickly. So London and I are just kind of going to go through our last late round guys that Ryan Pace could pick up that could be potential diamonds in the rough. I'm going to go really quickly. Tommy Treble, tight end out of Notre Dame, was, teammates with Cole Kmet. I think that teammate connection could help now that Kmet's, a little seasoned. He's going to be a sophomore. We might not have Jimmy Graham back next year. I think that could be a good 1-2 punch that they know each other. Cole knows where to put him. Cole understands the NFL a little bit more. Not saying he's a pro by any means, but it looks like Jimmy Graham might be on the move if he's not willing to take a pay cut. But who knows? Ryan Pace does like a tight end position was a need. Jimmy Graham might stay. London, who are you taking at 208?
I'm taking Ellerson Smith. He's a 6'7", 290-pound edge player out of Northern Iowa. We lost Roy. We love picking up guys like Roy to Jacksonville. We lost Roy. He's literally the spitting image of Roy. 6'7", huge guy, really raw, will come in, sit behind, Khalil Mack and the guys for 2 years, and then all of a sudden just be dominant.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's, I think that's, you can never have too many edges either. You can throw him in at linebacker if you have to. Mingo, who just went over to Atlanta. I liked him a lot on the Bears. You could throw him in at inside linebacker outside. So I think it's a great pick. At 221, who are you taking?
221, I'm taking Toney Fields II, linebacker out of West Virginia University. He's 6'1", 220. He was he started all of the years that he's been at West Virginia. He reminds me, and honestly, his NFL comparison, which is hilarious, is Nick Kwiatkowski. And he played with Nick his freshman year. So listen, he's kind of that versatile, smaller sized linebacker, really great at coverage. And again, I think this is the kind of guy where we have that connection drafting West Virginia linebackers with Nick and a few, just Virginia linebackers in general. So I think if Toney Fields, he'll slip down to the 6th round. We snag him there, put some depth at linebacker. It's just clearly guys like Josh Woods and, Joey's kind of just a special teams player. Gibson, I don't really know what he is. I thought we were going to play him at safety, but we're not. And so again, getting depth there, Danny's not getting any younger.
Nope, I agree. At 221, I'm taking Tamaron Terry, wide receiver out of Florida State. I like Florida State players. I think that they're Eddie Goldman, Florida State, taking a safety earlier from Florida State. I think Florida State creates great NFL players. They're not the dominant Florida State that they were a couple years ago, but I like this receiver, another big receiver. I'm only taking guys above 6'3" in this draft. He's got speed. Yeah, no, clear. That's what you need. Look at DK Metcalf, absolutely dominant. Every team had a shot at DK Metcalf, and now they're all just going, "Oh my God, like what did we do?"
Especially when he blows past your corner.
Yeah, exactly. Being that big. And fun fact, DJ Metcalf's dad played for the Chicago Bears as a lineman, so he got his size, but he got wide receiver athleticism. So. Big there. And then the final pick of the 6th round, the 4th one, number 228 for the Chicago Bears. London, who's your guy?
This was kind of a hard one for me. I didn't really, honestly, the 5th round pick was the hardest one for me. The one I'm going with, and this is exactly because for some odd reason, the Chicago Bears love to have just 30 tight ends. You know what I mean? You just picked a tight end out of Notre Dame. Anybody out of Notre Dame is good. But again, another tight end. I'm hoping we cut some of them because I think they're, unless the one that plays fullback, I think they're kind of worthless. But I'm going with Kylan Kylan Granson. He's 6'2", 240. He played tight end, fullback, honestly, a little bit of slot receiver out of SMU. SMU was one of the schools that we had scouts at. I think that he's a versatile player. And the thing is we have Cole Kmet. He will probably be our number one tight end. Okay. And then if we keep Jimmy Graham, if we don't, if we put another tight end there, he can be that kind of third scat back tight end. Use him more as kind of like I don't know if you remember like Jason McKee back in the day.
Yeah, man.
He's kind of like a Jason McKee kind of player. You know what I mean? Where you can kind of play that tight end fullback kind of thing. I really think, that is a lost art in the NFL. I think, we just saw Kyle out of the 49ers just get paid a bunch of money playing that fullback tight end. I would love to get that on our team. That's what he is out of SMU.
Sure. And, after that, I couldn't agree more. Having versatile players is so key in today's game. I mean, they tried making Cordell Patterson one, but at the wrong position. So I think he was better off being a tight end over a halfback. But, like you're saying, it works. And you need guys that can go in all positions. Just like in high school, you need someone that can go in and do whatever you need them to do and be good at whatever you need them to do. Yeah. And then finally, just throwing it out there, Caden Stearns, safety out of Texas, total toss-in, but a big safety, love big hitters, and he is a truck when it comes to hitting guys. So that's our picks. With that, London and I appreciate you listening in to our first mock draft. We had a lot of fun. We will have mock drafts coming up in the next couple of weeks as the draft is only a little bit more than a month away.
In Cleveland.
Roger Goodell will be there. Boo. So,
seriously. For the first, he won't be in his basement.
Right. Absolutely. So with that, thank you very much for tuning into this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Roti. I'm alongside my co-host, London Beth. We thank you very much and have a great day.